Hi, everybody. It's me, Kevin Campbell, and the main man, Lee Judges. How are you, Lee?
I'm good, thank you very, very much, Kev. About time you got yourself on this show. About time, So,
well, do you know what? Listen, the things in the background have been taking our time, and here we are. We're just you and I, to chew the fat. And it's not going to be long, but we got to get straight to it because, Lee, what's happening at Arsenal right now, mate?
Well, this is what we're here to chat about. Listen, I'm worried. I'm not going to lie, Kev. I know that you're a big, you believe in the process and everything like that, which I get. But I am starting to get worried. 5 days or 4 days now before pre-season. Signings are not happened what I thought they would. I thought that when we got 8th in the league last season, I honestly thought Arsenal would come in and blow us away a little bit with a few signings, but it's not happened. The Ben White one was very, very encouraging, but not enough, in my opinion, to get us anywhere where we were. And I know it's only pre-season, we'll talk about that in a moment, but back in when you played and in the day, you never really see pre-season games. Now it's all changed a little bit. Like we're seeing, you get to see the games more, don't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but what I'm seeing is no change from the way we're playing, what's happening. I just think the whole team and should I dare to say it, squad needs freshening up. It needs a total rehaul, if you like, freshening up. I think we're going to need to sacrifice a few players and bring a few players in. That's what I do believe. I really do believe that, Kev.
Lee, what's your thoughts on the Xhaka situation? Because for me, I look at that midfield area and I just think Thomas Partey was looking so well. He's a Rolls Royce. He was looking so well. Yeah. Obviously picked up a little injury, not as bad as first thought. So he's going to be the mainstay. Obviously, it looked like Xhaka was going to leave. And now he's stayed and signed a new contract. And I know there's been a bit of a meltdown going on with some people. What's your thoughts on that situation?
Do you know what? I'm going to say this about Granit Xhaka. If we get to get into the top 4 and really challenge, we need an upgrade on it. But I do believe that he is not the biggest problem at this football club. I really don't. I think there's more issues than Granit Xhaka. Yes, there's this thing about the thing with the fans and everything like that. Ultimately, what I don't understand, and I will say this, as a player, I don't know how you feel about this, but if you say you want to leave, and obviously that discussion was made, I don't really see how you can go back if you've actually said you want to leave. And look, Bellerin said he wants to leave as well, and they're both starting. Now, I will say this about Granit Xhaka, and you can probably comment a little bit better than this than me. When there was a little altercation with Mikel Arteta yesterday, I know back in your day when you was playing and when we was doing really well under Arsene Wenger, there would have been 5, 6, 7 players going into Højbjerg at that stage. It was only one, and it was Granit Xhaka. And then people, they're the ones sort of saying about having a go at him. So I feel he does get a little bit of bad press, but I do get what we're saying. If these players don't want to be here, why are they still here? And not only still here, Kevin, starting games. But I don't think he is I don't know how you feel about it. I don't think he's the biggest problem that we have at Arsenal.
For me, what Granit Xhaka done was out the club.
Yeah.
But he was one of our better players last season, Lee. I've got to be honest. He was one of our better players last season. The fact of the matter is, we haven't really progressed with Granit Xhaka in the midfield. But I think Granit Xhaka, being a squad player, we can get away with playing Granit Xhaka against lesser teams. But against the top boys, they tend to have too much legs for him.
Yeah.
That's what I've found. He is a good player. He's not a great player, he's a good player. But I just think this what happened with Xhaka was Roma trying to take the mickey out of us with the transfer fee because they dropped it. Obviously, we know there's been a love-in between Mourinho and him on social media and all that kind of thing. Arsenal had to dig their heels in. They dug their heels in. But the problem is, Lee, Arsenal are in a problem because Granit Xhaka's had 1 year left on his contract after this one. So do we put ourselves in the same position as we always do? Why do Arsenal always put themselves in a position where players run their contracts down? They had to say, right, we're going to put a stop to that. We're not going to do it. And even if we have to give him a little bit more money and give him more years, that's what we're going to do. And yeah, he might not have massive value moving forward. But do you know what, Lee? He'll have some value moving forward.
I agree. I don't think it's, as I said, I don't think so. I've got to ask one question. Would you be happy with Granit playing alongside Granit if he was in the same team as him? Do you feel that he's a good enough midfield player to supply you with what you need?
Well, I could tell you this much. Me and Granit Xhaka probably would have been fighting many years ago. Why? Because when there's the opportunity to play the ball forward, like he did in the Euros, he was spraying balls forward, hitting killer balls. He doesn't do that for Arsenal. And maybe the game's a bit quicker. Premier League is obviously unforgiving.
Yeah.
But as a striker, Lee, when I make my move, the ball's got to be on its way.
You want it, yeah.
It's got to be on its way. You play midfield. You know your striker would have a go at you. Lee, play earlier. That's what I'll be like, Granit, pass the ball. And if he don't pass it, then me and him are going to have words. Yeah. God forbid. Merce, Righty, and everyone, we need the ball quicker.
Yeah.
But the problem for that midfield, that has been our problem in midfield, Lee.
Yeah, and do you feel like, just this finish with Granit, do you think that, because I think he's a decent player, Granit Xhaka, do you just think that the Premier League, the speed of it just doesn't suit him?
Yeah, I just think Granit Xhaka is better when he's got time on the ball. When he's got time on the ball, international football, European football, he looks a lot better. But there's times, don't forget, Lee, Granit Xhaka played in all them games at the start of last season where we struggled big time. Granit Xhaka played in all them. Nearly breaking the record at home for losing 5 games on the spin. Granit Xhaka played in all them. So let's have it right. He is a good player, but he's not a great player. For me, he's not a player who can carry this team. And we really need to sort our midfield out. That's the engine room. I think there was somebody who mentioned about bringing Maddison in or what. We need that type, but we also need a partner for Thomas Partey in that midfield. Lokonga looks good. I've got to say so.
I was impressed with him.
He does look good, but we also need more because I think there's going to be injuries, suspensions, all sorts going on this season, and we need more. So Lee, Maddison, 60 to 70 million. Are you happy with that?
I think it's a must. I'm not saying there's a lot of talk about Odegaard and Aouar as well. I'm going to be honest now. We need one of those 3, and we need it soon because what I'm seeing with Arsenal, and Kev, you watch football as well. You played it and everything like that. I cannot believe that what I'm watching and the coaching staff are not seeing what I'm seeing. I'm seeing us progress the ball really well to the final third and it breaking down every time. What seems to be happening with the last 2 games in particular, I know it's only pre-season, let's get that right, but I've seen it 38 games and a lot of games at the Emirates last season. We get to the final third, we don't know what we do, we lack ideas and lack a little bit of creativity. It breaks down in the final third and then we get hit on the counter-attack and we get beaten. We got done by Chelsea by it, and it really, against Spurs, they've done it to us a few times as well. We need someone in there that's going to pick the pocket. And, people say about Smith Rowe, he's not that sort of player that's going to get in there. There's little intricate little passes in there. He's more of a runner, ball carrier. You know what I mean? There's going to be someone in there. And if Arsenal do not get that, then I think we're in trouble. And I think that that's a knock-on effect to the forwards that we're going to talk about as well. You know that when those games, particularly you've played in those games when teams come in and they put 10 men behind the ball and defend and defend and defend. You have to have someone that's going to go between the lines with the ball, which I think we've got with Smith Rowe, but you need someone then that's going to put in those little intricate passes. We haven't got that. And listen, they're not easy players to find, Kev. They're not easy players to find. And I think, yes, 70 million, 60 million is a lot of money, but I believe Arsenal need that money and we need it ASAP. I really do. We need it. Whether it be Maddison, Aouar, or...
would you take both, Lee?
In an
Maddison
ideal world.
and Aouar?
100% I would. 100% I would. Because... listen, I think at the end of the day, if you look at it, if it's right that the fee is 20 million for a while, that's realistically 20, 30, at least 20 million, Kev, that we was prepared to spend last season on him. So yeah, I would get in the two of them, because ultimately, if you're going to go on and become a top 4 side or challenging the title, you're going to need that.
You need threats, don't you? You need threats, yeah. Yeah,
get it now. And then particularly when you're at home, you don't need 1, 2 holding midfielders at home, Kev. You know, a midfield of Aouar, Partey, and say Maddison, that would open up. You know, teams wouldn't dare defend against that all season. They would have to change their stuff, because eventually something will happen. So, and I do feel that's what we need. 20 million for a while is a bargain. You know, yes. So this is how I look at it. 20 million, we'd normally be paying 40 million. So realistically, Maddison's
55 last summer. It was 55 last summer.
So at the end of the day, you'd get 2 players really, you know, and if we could sell a couple more, it wouldn't be such a bad thing. I think it's really good, like, you know. Listen, if you're prepared to spend £50 million on a central defender, then surely you're prepared to spend 60 million and upwards for a creative midfielder, because, you know, as you well know, it goes higher up the field. And when you go into the forward line, if you're going to look for the top class striker, you're 70 million plus, Kev.
Yeah, yeah. So what you're saying is it's all relevant to the position, aren't you? You know, and to what the team actually need. Because you know what, Lee? I didn't think we played too bad yesterday.
No.
Our problem was, and we're going to come to strikers in the end, our problem was that final third. It just kept breaking down. We couldn't pick anybody out in the box. We didn't have that physical presence in the box where we could put a cross in and someone could get on the end of it.
Ultimately, and that's what I agree. And someone just put in the chat, which is a great thing. If you've got Aouar and Maddison for 90 million, that's 2 good midfield players. Forget which one cost them, mate. 2 top quality midfield players to go alongside Partey. That is 150 million pounds worth of midfield talent. That is pretty good, Kev. I think that's about right in the modern day. So I think that is. Then you've got. Then you can look at it, right? Because I'm fed up now with the excuses of not getting enough service to forwards, which is right. They can say that, Kev, you've been a forward. If you ain't scoring, the first thing you're going to say is, well, I'm only as good as my supply, which is true. You're only as good as you're fed, you know, and that is true. But ultimately, if you get that sorted out, then there's no excuses for these forwards not to score goals. I think they've got a slight excuse at the moment why they're not scoring goals, because if it was me, and I know if it was you as well, you'd be going, well, when it gets to the final third, it's breaking down. I'm not getting the service that I want. A striker's is only as good as his service. And listen, I know what forwards are like. You've been one and all that. You know, that they will look for excuses. You know what I mean? Like,
watch out! It's the union, Lee. It's the union, strikers' union.
Union, like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I get that, because if you're not supplying them, they're going to come to me when I was playing midfield. I ain't getting a service. You ain't doing this. You ain't doing that. And ultimately, we've been in games when things are tight and that, bang, they score the goals. You know what I mean? They strut in with their little peacock little thing, like, you know what I mean? I've done it again, boys, for you. That is forwards all over, and that's what it's all about. And that's why they get paid the top dollar, because I am telling you, like, as intricate and difficult it is to get those passes in, the hardest thing to do on a football field is score goals. If it was easy, every bloody forward, everybody would be a forward, and that is a fact. right?
Yeah,
So ultimately, you've got to get that little bit of supply in for them. And look, Kev, look at the team difference between January to the end of the season and to before. 5, 6, 7, 8 times we lost 1-0 at home because we couldn't break down a team, and then we put pressure on the back because they can't make a mistake because the forwards are not getting this. You know what it's like, and that's where we're struggling. So I honestly think, I'll be honest with you, I think that we need to get those 2 midfield players in, and I don't see why we... Listen, when you come 8th in the league, let's be honest, you've got to spend some money to improve because that you've got to do it. But I also think we need to freshen up in the forward area. I really do.
Lee, that moves me to my next question, a striker. Now, I saw a lot of service going into that box yesterday, crosses from the left and the right. And we didn't get on the end of anything.
Nothing.
Now, a name of a young player from Chelsea, Tammy Abraham, keeps getting mentioned. And Arsenal fans, as far as I'm concerned, Lee, the best way to say it is they're snobs.
Yeah.
They are snobs. Somebody who's been leading the scorer at Chelsea, who spent fortunes, big, imposing, strong, who could do a real good job for us, I believe. They're turning their nose up and saying, we don't want him. So who else is there with Premier League experience who can go straight in and do the business? Please, Lee, help me on this one.
I'll tell you, if his name was Abrino or something like that, like with an I-N-O-H on the end of it, he'd be like, everybody would be loving him. Or a Vich on the end of it, like Abramovich, they'd be going mad about him, like, you know what I mean? But because it's Tammy Abrams, there isn't. Now, I've heard Arsenal fans say, no, we don't want Tammy Abraham. We should have gone for Ings, right? Ings is 31 years of age, had like 2 cruciate ligament injuries in his knees, or someone that's 23 that's hungry. And
but when you put the crosses in, he's not that physical. Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like we haven't got a plan B, Kev. Now, Juru was unfortunately our plan A when he should have been our plan B all that time. We put too much pressure on him. But we haven't got a plan. 15, 20 minutes from the end, knock it up there, see what happens, Kev. You know what I mean? Like, get crosses on. We've got wide players that when they get the ball, they don't want to cross because there's nothing to cross into. So they check back out and go back in this and go back that way. What I believe, and I watched Tammy Abrahams against Chelsea again. It's only pre-season, but I see him bully our Arsenal defence physically, right? We need someone like that that's going to physically bully other teams, put them off the stride. Now, if you have somebody like him and he puts the defence off his stride, it might leave a little gap open for someone to come through, like a Smith Rowe or somebody like that to do that.
Someone, Lee, I'll be honest with you. A lot of that was my game when I played with Righty. When I played with Righty, it was, Kev, I knew what I had to do. I had to make sure I used my physicality to unsettle the defence. And before you know it, Righty's nipped in, a ball will come up, me and the centre-half will bump, the ball will just go through, and Righty's through, and he scores. That makes a difference. And maybe the Arsenal fans don't see it or don't remember it or whatever. But I know what having a big striker, strong striker, can do for a team. Because you know what? A lot of the time, Lee, when we're struggling at the back or teams start to press us, we've got nobody to hit. We're hitting Lacazette, and Lacazette's there to the centre-half. It's not right.
That's a great point. Also, when it ain't just about goals. It's not always just about goals. The ball goes up, he can fight.
It's got to stick,
Then bring other players into the game. They're more intricate players into the game, which I don't think that happens all the time, if I'll be honest. Now, let's talk a little bit about Chelsea. I think Chelsea are a big, strong centre forward away from winning the league. Now, people might turn around and say, well, they've got Tammy Abrahams here. But Tammy Abrahams, at this moment in time, is not the finished article, Kevin. Now, Chelsea don't do they do the finished article.
I don't do developing too much.
Do development, like, you know, we're in a position where we are as a club that we have to develop, like, you know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't take a gamble on Smith Rowe. They wouldn't take a gamble on certain Martinelli and all that. Now, don't get me wrong. They had Lukaku very, very similar to what he was when it was Tammy Abraham, but they got rid. You know what I mean? Like, because, but now he's the finished article. They want him back. They don't care about how much it costs, Kev.
And they're happy to spend the money.
Happy to spend the money, don't care. You know, like, we're all panicking because, well, we let Joe Willett go or something like that. They've done it with De Bruyne. They're not bothered. They've done it with Lukaku. They've got him back. Now, bringing him back as the real deal and the finished article, people now saying Chelsea have got a good chance of winning the league, where it was like Manchester City. Like, now, Arsenal, if they get the right players in and develop them and all that, like, it could be that, you know, Tammy Abrahams would be a top player. Now, listen, Jack Grealish wasn't the finish art. It wasn't £100 million player 3 years ago, was he?
No, he wasn't.
2 years now. Like, you know, I mean, and this could happen with Tammy Abrahams, and I think it's worth a gamble. I really do. And people saying, "Oh, we're helping Chelsea fund Lukaku." No, we're not. We're not doing that. They've just gone and bought him without selling him. You know what I mean? They don't care about that. So I think that we need to get somebody in there. I just also feel that it's time to freshen up the back four. I really do.
It's time to freshen up quite a few spots because we know we got holes in our squad, Lee. We do know that, and especially at the striker position. Here's one. So I don't know if you're the same as me, Lee. I keep hearing stuff about pre-season. People, it's going from good to bad. It's only pre-season, or, you know, things should be right in pre-season. What's your take on that, Lee?
Yeah, this is a thing that's a little bit of a bugbear of mine, like, because you know that I'm pre-season. I've always been involved in pre-seasons when I played and all that, like, as you have done as well. When it was important. Yes, it was important for fitness. Yes, it was important to the results never really mattered. I get that, but what you want to see as a player and as a coach or whatever is something you can work on and develop on. See something that you go, do you know, right, that's the partnership that's going to take us to here. This is this and that. Get things going. And I haven't seen none of that, Kev. I've watched 38 games last season, and I see 38 games. I see all the same things in pre-season. I don't see us creating a lot of chances. I still see us missing chances. I still see us making same mistakes at the back. And the football, I'm going to have to say, isn't that interesting. It's not, you know what I mean? There are times with the Arsenal at the moment, you can fall asleep on it, like, you know what I mean? So that's something that we have to do. Before we go there, we have to read the super chats, Kev. Like,
Go on, Lee. You read the super chats.
Right. The issue with the attack is tactical. Xhaka has to drop deep and get the ball. The wingers are not allowed to come inside like Mane and Salah. Right, that's one. I'll take Abraham. Can you read that one? Or
listen, I'll take Abraham as an alternative to Lacazette, not as a replacement. He brings different attributes. Remember how effective Giroud was off the bench in his last season for us. Switch up the threat. Aerial.
100%.
Good point.
Brilliant.
Gunner down.
That's what we're saying. The only thing that I will say with that, though, Kevin, I'll be honest with you, I think that you can't have Lacazette, Aubameyang, Tammy Abrahams, Martinelli, and Balogun in the same thing. What will happen with Balogun if you bring in Tammy Abraham? I think, I don't know how you feel about Balogun. I think he needs to have a loan spell to see
big time. He needs to go. He needs to go and play some football, Lee.
Yeah,
because he's got the raw attributes. He's got talent, but he needs to go somewhere and start. Go somewhere and start. Championship or League One. Go and play some football. Score some goals. Get roughed up a bit. Learn what football's about.
Yeah,
because
I totally agree with that.
You know, he going into the Arsenal first team. It won't be enough, mate. It won't be enough.
I'm with you on this. I think at the end of the day, I'll be really honest. I think somewhere along the line, you have to be proactive in the transfer window and take gambles. And somewhere along the line, gambles like have always happened for all the years that we've played football, Kevin. When you in your day, you'll look at a player and go, "Oh, I can't believe Arsenal let him go," and whatever like that. Blah 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 blah. It happens, and I think that somewhere along the line, you've got to say, right, okay, this is where we bite the bullet. I'd bite the bullet on Lacazette now. I'd say, look, he's done really well for us, but ultimately, in the 4 year, he's past his best, and when he was at his best, we still couldn't get top 4, Kevin. I'm not having a go at him for that. I'm just saying
the fact. You're just saying the facts.
I'm just saying it as a fact. So for me, thank you very much. Go, let's go and get someone else. His ceiling's here. Tammy Abrahams could be up there. Same as Balogun. We don't really know what you're going to get from him. So I would rather see us take chances with them two guys than a Lacazette and an Eddie. I think that look, I see who's someone's put like Blackburn to Crystal Palace today. Is it with Armstrong? You know what I mean? Like scored 28 goals.
Adam Armstrong,
good player. Scored 20 odd goals in the 28 goals in the Championship. This is what we should have done with Eddie. You know what I mean? Like, because now I can't believe that this bloke's worth more than Eddie, and Eddie's the under 23, under 21. Scoring goals all the time, but he hasn't got that. That what's it?
That experience. He hasn't got the season under his belt, the football under his belt. Being number 2, being number 3, number 4 at Arsenal isn't it?
Yeah, he needs
because
to
there's no value in that league.
If he'd have gone last season on loan, say we're mentioning it because someone said about Stoke, like, you know what I mean, like gone to Stoke and banged in 20 goals along with your son, right? Then he's got that in the bank to turn around and go, do you know what? Crystal Palace or a Brighton or someone take the risk on him. But he hasn't got that under his belt, Kev, you know what I mean? So we ain't going to get a lot of money for him now when probably he could have been another £20 million striker, like,
But that's the problem, you see, Lee. So your Eddie Nketiahs, your Reece Nelsons, all of these young players who need to play never went on loan. They were in the squad. At times they were involved, times they weren't. But they're being wasted.
Yeah.
Now, whether we like it or not, football's a business. And if it's a business, Lee, it's a business of development too. So if you get young players, get them out playing football because that's only going to raise their value.
Yeah.
That's what Arsenal.
I agree.
That's what Arsenal should be doing 100%, but they don't do it enough.
No, they don't do it enough. Why don't they do it enough? And that's the thing. And I get it. Like we've loaned out Willock, and we'll just talk about him while we're on it. We've loaned out Willock last season to Newcastle. I think at the end of the day, it's been a good loan for him to go out there. It's also been a good loan for us because now we've got £25 million. You know what I mean? If he'd have stayed in doing a bit part player last season, wouldn't have got that. And I think that's where we've got to be proactive now. Take a gamble. I know there's a few people. Listen, if Arsenal, me and you are big Joe Willock fans. We like him. He's always had a little goal in him and all that. But I'll be honest, if we're going to be looking in the long term to get into the top 4, probably Joe's not going to be your man. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean to say he's not a bad player, Kev. Like, you know what I mean? It could be that he could come back in a couple of seasons.
It suits Newcastle.
It suits Newcastle.
The way they play suits them,
Yeah. So let's get the money. And if that can get us Maddison or a War or whatever, then fantastic, like, Or, Odegaard. I don't know why everybody keeps going about this Odegaard one. Like, either Real Madrid, it's either now or never, isn't it? Like, if Real Madrid I can't see Real Madrid saying no, and in 2 weeks' time go yes. I think this is
it's dead. Odegaard's not happening because Tony Kroos is injured. Because Tony Kroos is injured now. Tony Kroos has done his groin, and I can't see Carlo Ancelotti or Real Madrid agreeing to let him go when he's one of their playmakers. Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
Who do you think? It's a good question. Like, do you think Arsenal are actively looking for players? Do you think that they are doing it, or do you think that they are?
I do. I think Arsenal are definitely looking. But here's the issue, Lee. And we always said we wanted Arsenal to go out there and do their business early in pre-season. There's one problem with that: the selling clubs. The selling clubs don't want to work as quickly as Arsenal. So what's going to happen? You know what it is. We've got 3 weeks to go until the end of the window, and we're going to need every minute of that 3 weeks, Lee. That's what's going to happen. Because the selling clubs, they're not just going to want to sell. They're going to want to replace the player that they're getting rid of. So you cat and mouse.
So have you ever been in that situation then, which is a good point, that you're going to kick off the first game of the season for a team knowing that you may not be there in 2 or 3 weeks' time? Does that happen?
Well, it's not. Well, it can do. It can do, yeah. Because maybe you're the best player in that position. And you know something, Lee? In the first couple of weeks of the season, touch wood, I hope it don't happen, somebody gets injured, or for the opposition, another club, somebody gets injured, and they think, right, you know what? I'll go and get a Bellerin, or I'll go and get Xhaka, or I'll go and get this one. So things happen in that window, that gap between the start of the season and the end of the transfer window, where teams all of a sudden spring to life and they have to move and shake. It's very difficult if you're the only one pushing and the opposition are quite comfortable sitting there. And let's not forget, Leicester, it's well within their rights to take this right down to the wire with Maddison. Yeah. Because it makes Arsenal weaker. It makes Arsenal weaker, especially if, let's say, the Maddison deal gets done on the last week before the transfer window shuts. That's, what is it, probably 3 or 4 games in. Do you know what I mean? So, teams play these, trust me, teams play these games because Leicester will think, hold on a minute, if we give Arsenal Maddison, they could be a challenger to us.
Right, let's ask a question. Like, you've been in the game, transfers, your boys in the game as well, like, you know. So have Arsenal, in your opinion, had a chat with Maddison? Or has that not gone on?
No,
yet?
I don't think they would talk to him. I think his representation they would have spoken to.
So, like, they talk to the agent. So the club would talk to the agent, so that you're not approaching. You know,
so you're not breaking the rule to speak to the player, because ultimately it's down to the player. Okay, to make that decision. Okay, I'll come and join. Then obviously all the bits and pieces have to be worked out. We know that it probably could go to the wire. So you test the water with the agent, the representation. Would he be interested? The agent say, well, yeah, listen, obviously if all intents and purposes and the clubs agree the fee, then the next move is to then go to Leicester, then you start negotiating a fee. Sometimes these things happen quickly. Sometimes they take their time.
Brilliant. Super chat here. What are you saying, KC? If there's possible movement before the end of the window, so why the hurry for the Xhaka decision?
I think the Xhaka decision was Arsenal had tried to get a couple of midfielders, central midfielders, and none of them came off. So here's the problem. If you then sell Xhaka and you don't bring another one in, what happens then?
Well, we'd be in trouble at this moment in time.
Exactly, even more trouble.
Injured, so it was probably the right decision at this moment in time.
In the end, it was the right decision. And I know, some people don't agree with what's happened. But at the end of the day, it's not as simple as you put a bid in and then you get the player. It just doesn't work that way. There's a lot of details and moving parts in these deals, and things could break down on anything. The fact of the matter is, Granit Xhaka was one of our better players last season, although last season was easily forgettable. And he knows the Premier League. He knows the club. And one thing he will do, he'll have a goal. He's not the greatest player, but he's a decent player. He'll have a goal, Lee. That's one thing he will do. He'll have a goal.
Let's just round this up with back to Maddison one. Then, do you think that will happen? Or do you think they go somewhere else?
I think that could go to the wire. Obviously, Arsenal are interested in him, But I think the money is going to be the stumbling block, because Leicester are not going to budge. They're not going to budge until maybe come right near the end.
My problem also with this is, and I mentioned this yesterday, is that I believe that if we wait too long, someone like Tottenham that are going to have the Harry Kane money could come in and nick a couple of our swoops.
They're already spending it, Spurs. Don't worry about that. They're already spending it.
Yeah.
You know,
so
they brought keeper in on loan. They brought centre back. They brought striker. Listen, they're already spending that money. Trust me. Daniel Levy ain't stupid. He knows what he's got to back the manager, and he knows he's got his captain there who is off. He's agreed it before, and now obviously Harry Kane is, he's come back, and Harry Kane wants to leave. You know that, I know that, they know that. It's just a matter of when. Will they negotiate with Manchester City? Because Manchester City want Harry Kane.
Yeah, and you can see the reasons why after the Charity Shield that they need Harry Kane. I think like that performance on Saturday night, how Harry Kane would have been jumping in his hotel room, because I think that showed you that he needed him. That they need him. I think that they really do. I think that I'm not saying City are going to be in trouble, but I think that, the way it's going at the minute, I think Chelsea have just pulled ahead of them as favourites for the title. In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think the Lukaku signing is huge. Whereas, defensively, they've been resolute, haven't they? They've been strong. Yeah. Defense, midfield. It was just really at striker. Werner just weren't, prolific enough. Havertz has really pulled them out of the fire quite a bit of times, and in the Champions League final. But then you get somebody like Lukaku, who is a perennial 20, 30 goals a season, man. You add that to Chelsea, and they're going to take some stopping, Lee.
Yeah, I agree. Good, Scott. What about the goalkeeping situation at Arsenal? I'm going to be honest, I'm worried about it. I know he got one in the old Crown Jewels, didn't he? Yesterday, a very good save, Leno. Yeah. But I was worried if anything happens to him going into this, the
Brentford game. Going into the Brentford game even.
If they don't sign a goalkeeper, anything, we're 6 months where I don't want to be in a position, Kev, right, where every time Leno goes down, I'm worried because, that he's injured and whatever, like, and that we're at the moment looking at, I don't think anything better than 7th or 8th. But I think if anything would happen to him when we brought in Renison in goal, like, I think we could be down the bottom. It's something that we've surely got to address.
Yeah, and look, we keep getting linked with Ramsdale. I like Sam Johnston at West Brom.
Yeah, he was on the bench on.
Yeah, because they want. I think West Brom have to sell. West Brom have to sell. So he's there. He's a really good keeper. He's part of the England setup. Perfect. He's not going to be crazy money either. He's not going to be 30 million, that's for sure.
Yeah,
like they were calling about Ramsdale. But I like Sam Johnson. But people are talking about Onana. There's issues with Onana. 6-month problem with his ban, and then he's going to be in the Africa Cup of Nations. So you're still going to need another keeper, even if you signed him. So I don't think that's feasible. Very, very, very difficult. It's a difficult time, Lee, right now. Real difficult time for Arsenal. But they've got to fix a lot of these holes.
Yeah, really like that situation where, like someone saying Kieran Trippier, I can't see Arsenal paying over 30 million for a 31-year-old right now. I just think that's a bit of paper talk, if I'll be honest. Yeah,
I'd rather them go for a younger.
Yeah.
A Max Aarons or something. Go for somebody younger who, I think one thing that Arteta has done, the players he's brought in have been young. And you could see 23, 22, 23-year-old, you're starting to build something there. You've got the youngsters underneath that they could all gel to be a quality team come the future.
I agree. And I have to say this, we're criticising Mikel Arteta and Edu for not getting business done. The one thing that they've done, the players that they have brought in over the last couple of years have been pretty good, haven't they? Pretty successful. When I look at Kieran Tierney, for instance. I look at Gabriel. I look at Lokonga. I thought was outstanding. That's again, we only pre-seen, but looks like a good player. We have brought in some good Martinelli. We have done some decent business in the transfer window over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, and that was always our Achilles heel. We're still, Lee, let's be honest, we're still having some of the legacy of the old transfer regimes because we can't get rid of players. Do you know what I mean? This is proper currency for a football club when you've got somebody there you could sell and trade, and you know that's your currency as a football club. We've got one. That was Willock. That was all. Nobody else wants any of our players. You know, Lucas Torreira, he was decent as a bulldog in the centre midfield. Now, unfortunately, he's had some personal issues, and you know he doesn't want to come back. It's crazy what's happening at Arsenal. Crazy.
Just before we wrap up, then, at this moment in time, your personal opinion, where do you think Arsenal will finish?
I think Arsenal will finish between 4 and 8. I really do. Yep. I think Arsenal could finish top 6, but they have to plug the gaps, Lee. They have to with quality. Will they do it?
Yeah, that's the
Me
question.
Personally, I don't think they will plug them all. I think they'll plug some of them, but I don't think they'll plug them all.
If you was Edu now or Mikel Arteta, and you can only bring in, let's say, I think we need a right back, a goalkeeper, 2 midfield players,
2 midfielders and a striker.
So you know that's 6. Is that goalkeeper, right back, 2 midfielders and a striker, 5 players to bring in. I don't think that we're going to bring in 5. So we can only bring in 3. What 3 positions would you go for?
I'd go for 2 in midfield and a striker.
Yeah, and gamble without the goalkeeper?
No, but you could always loan a keeper. Right? But buying, I think our midfield is desperate for 2 quality players. And we need that plan B up top. So desperate because we do get into advanced positions, but we got nobody to hit.
Yeah, right. People in the chat are saying, come on, Campbell, you're being too broad between 4 and 8. Give a position.
I did say, I said top 6. Did people not hear me?
No,
I did say top 6.
So you're saying 6. I'm saying this currently, I think 7th. I really do. I think Aston Villa are going to be a threat next season. I really do. I think that they'll be up there, like, you know. So
we'll see about Villa.
We'll see about Villa. Right, you know what I mean? We'll see about Villa. Right, wrap it up then, Kevin. You're the one.
Well, listen, this should be chatting with Lee Judges, but we're chatting with Kev Campbell here. Great to be on your show. Finally, Lee. Thank you very much for giving me a little bit of time.
We're going to have you on a lot more. Like, we're going to do some special stuff, and of course, when you're back, when you're down in the studio, we'll have you down there for the a night in with the judge, which is going really well as well. Like, you know, so
am I present, Lee? Yeah, you're going to have me present.
I'll have your present because if no one knows on Twitter, like, Kevin's had his 3rd birthday this year already. Like, you know, people wishing him happy birthday, cakes. No, I don't know how you don't get large on those cakes because I tell you it's ridiculous. If you ever look on Twitter today, go and have a look. There's a goal on there, a goal against Crystal Palace. My own word, what a goal that was, Kevin. Like, you know, so even though it's not your birthday, it was nice to see that goal anyway. Like, you know? Well,
I agree, and it's on birthday because it's not my birthday, but I'll take it, Lee. And Red Nose John is sending me by carrier pigeon a present, which is about 3 years too late. But listen, thanks for joining us for chatting with Campbell. Thanks, Lee, for coming on your own channel and giving me an opportunity, mate. And take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Take care.